Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending from which part of the world you have joined in from. I am Priya Patra, and we are back again with Event 8, Season 3 of PMI Chapter Exchange. And as you all know, I am the Vice President Outreach of the PMI Mumbai chapter. And today we have all of our chapter leaders from all across the globe on this call today. Some of them are here co-hosting the event with me. And let me introduce Robert, our chapter leader from Zimbabwe chapter.
Good evening, everyone, and good morning and good afternoon, wherever you are joining us on this call. It is a pleasure having you joining us. Thank you.
And we have Greg, our chapter leader from PMI Alaska chapter.
Oh, good day to everyone. Good morning from here. It's great to see everybody on this another great exchange. Welcome.
Thank you, Greg. And Anisha from PMI Bangladesh chapter.
Hey everyone, this is Anisha from PMI Bangladesh chapter. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Anisha. And of course, Damike, our chapter leader from Sri Lanka Colombo chapter.
Hi everyone, welcome to PMI Chapter Exchange Season 3. I am Dhammika Mendes, Executive Vice President from PMI Sri Lanka chapter. So today we will discuss building project cybersecurity in project management. And today we have our PMI friends joining from 23 different PMI chapters from across the globe, North America, Latin America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. So please say hello to each and other and continue networking while we get started. Today we are excited to announce we have 1,182 plus registrations from across the globe, 67 countries to be precise, from Alaska to New Zealand, and all countries and continents in between. So thank you everyone for this warm response to this initiative. So let us know where you are joining from. Please log on to www.menti.com and use the code 8326 1157. 8326 1157. So the link will be shared in the chat. You can click the link. So the meeting is being recorded. If you are uncomfortable in any ways, you may choose not to attend, else you are welcome to continue. Everyone here in this event are speaking on our individual capacity. Our views do not represent our organization views in any ways.
Yeah, thank you, Damike. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Matt Tomlinson, our guest speaker of the day. Let me introduce Matt a bit. And I really liked Matt's profile when I looked up LinkedIn because what I liked about it is that he has passion for technology and innovation, but he has combined that with project management, program management as well. And he started his first company in the age of 60. Wow, that's something very exciting. And this has been a very fascinating journey, he says. And this has taken him all around the world. His experience varies from small businesses to, it has also taken him to the Air Force, along with, career in the Pentagon as well. He worked for the White House running the We the People petition website. Right now, he works for Indeed.com and helping to transition to public cloud technologies. And of course, he is the director of Project Management Institute. And with each step in his career, he has used combination of technology, innovation, product, and program management, which is kind of very unique and exciting. And he says he uses all this to solve the unsolvable. He does research, and his focus of research is artificial intelligence, deep learning, and machine learning. So, who better we could have chosen to kickstart our event? This event on cybersecurity and project management. So, with this, Matt, let me pause for a moment for you to say hi to all our participants who have joined from all across the globe.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me, Priya. It's a pleasure to be here. Welcome to everybody around the world. It's wonderful to see sort of a chapter exchange like this where we're bringing everyone together. I'm a volunteer and a PMI member, just like all of you, or many of you are volunteers, but hopefully all of you are members. If not, there's a lot of benefits to membership. And so, yeah, I'm pleased to be what's called an independent non-executive director, sort of representing all of you into sort of the global mission of PMI and sort of how we make strategic decisions to help people around the world make ideas a reality. So I'm really excited to be here. I do love talking about cybersecurity and technology, and so I know Priya has a few questions for me that I'll be happy to sort of pontificate on just a little bit, but then we're also looking forward to any questions that all of you have, as we get into this larger session. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. And let us get started then. So, Matt, cybersecurity, I will say, is a buzzword, right? And as we know that, all research institutes, including Gartner, says that worldwide security spending is skyrocketing. And it's on an upward trend as well. And we have seen lots of cyber attacks increasing in frequency, sophistication, as well as impact. Now, as a project manager, when I think of cybersecurity, I think of two things, right? Project management for cybersecurity projects, and how do we incorporate cybersecurity for project management? Could you please elaborate a bit on this?
Yeah, what's funny is the Gartner number, normally Gartner likes to exaggerate numbers, and this is the time where I actually think that they maybe have been too conservative. I think that the number of 133 billion in 2022 might even be a little low. Cybersecurity is a huge sort of area of focus for many corporations. PMI has published what's called a Megatrends Research Report, which is available on our website. I'll post the link in the chat here in a minute, but like a third of organizations are knowingly looking at concerns around cybersecurity. But what I think is that means that 2/3 of the organizations just haven't thought about it yet or aren't paying attention. Like I think everyone who has any sort of online digital presence needs to really be thinking about cybersecurity. And yeah, as you brought up, Priya, there are the challenge of how can you manage a cybersecurity project, and that's clearly just knowing what your scope is, what your success criteria. Obviously, schedule and cost comes into that sort of iron triangle. But then also the cybersecurity of a project itself, like managing any project, being just thoughtful about how we're sharing data. Like all of the tools that we're using, literally the WebEx tool that we're using right now have really sort of brought the world together over the last 980 days or so that COVID has affected us and changed everything. But because it's made it so easy to connect, it's also made it easy to share. And sometimes we can share things when it comes to data, and we're not thinking about, okay, what are the touch points in between? And so really being thoughtful and meaningful about sort of how we're doing our own project management is how we're going to keep the management of our projects secure from cyber attacks. And so, yeah, so there's both sides of that, of really sort of thinking about, okay, how do we manage cybersecurity projects, and then how do we be cyber aware within the projects that we're managing? And I would really just say it comes down to education, awareness, and thoughtfulness about sort of some of the things. When it's really easy for you to do something, it may also be easy for someone to also listen in on that or eavesdrop or whatnot. So just you need to really be thoughtful about those types of things.
Yes, Matt. And I remember I was working for a project. I was leading a project and for a Fortune 10 organization. And when we went to deliver, to the final delivery, we were asked whether we use the secure SDLC life cycle or not, which means incorporating security in every phase of your project life cycle, right? Uh, we had to get our code scanned through static as well as dynamic scan, and where we came up with multiple vulnerabilities. We spent again a month or so fixing them. So that's where that awareness that you talked about is very important, because this is something which they thought that we will always take care of, but which we were not aware of, and that became a big problem at the end. So yes, awareness is very important, but how do we take care of the risk management? I mean, cyber security would mean cyber security projects, or even normal projects, right? In this era, would mean that we have to incorporate threat intelligence into our risk management. How is it different from the traditional risk management?
Yeah. So the old way of thinking about sort of risk was the IT organization would basically set up a wall, like like the castles of history, and there'd be a wall that was really high, impenetrable wall with maybe a moat around it, and outside the wall was untrusted. That was the rest of the world, and inside that wall was sort of the trusted area. Um, that metaphor really did not last past the 80s, when we all of a sudden started connecting and basically poking holes in these walls in our organizations. And now sort of you fast forward, 30, 40 years now, and the newer concept is really just sort of what's effectively called zero trust, where, each individual application, each individual device, my phone right here, it should not have trust to any other device just because it can talk to it on the network. We should sort of have the concept of, what are called certificate exchanges and other types of things to sort of secure individual point-to-point communications amongst these various sorts of things. So getting back to sort of like risk management, like it's not just IT's risk; it's the entire organization, the business, the nonprofit, the education, the institution, whatever you're working, whatever group you're working with. Everyone needs to pull together to really sort of understand and identify and think about, okay, what are these risks, and then how do we support the organization accomplishing the mission that you're trying to achieve, and doing it in sort of a way that is sort of aware of risk and being intelligent about risk. And so, we still have CISOs, sort of chief information security officers. We have chief risk officers, we have chief information officers, chief technology officers. All these roles still sort of exist in the world. They're not going away, but they're transitioning more from a directive, sort of top down, like you only need to use my phone. Like you're going to get a work phone and you have a home phone. You never the two shall meet. Now, like that's not the case anymore. Many of us have work and home both on the same device, for all of our different devices. And so now these roles are shifting into sort of setting guidelines and policies and really trying to educate and inform all of the stakeholders about, okay, what is the way that we can sort of understand the threat landscape? How can we implement sort of end-to-end security and encryption in a way that's seamless, but handles all of the data security that we need? So it's definitely evolving.
Okay, that's great. But um, uh, we all know that everyone is a target nowadays, right? Every organization, individual, everyone is a target, except for, especially when we are working remote, as you rightly said, right? Now there is no work phone or home phone, all are merged together. And working remotely makes our environments even more less secure. So, how does this hybrid mode of working have changed our cybersecurity workflow?
Yeah, as we've been mentioning here, there are so many different sort of attack vectors, or the surface area of attack is so large, that it comes down to just being really intelligent and really smart about what you're trying to do, and thoughtful in these particular areas. So uh, a lot of companies are trying to link their risk mitigation plans with their sort of business continuity plans, because Again, the pandemic has disrupted how a lot of us have done business. And what people were starting to realize is that you had a team doing risk and risk mitigation and security. And then you had another team doing security. And so sometimes the risk and security folks were working together, but then you had like the business continuity team that might be working with the risk mitigation team, but they weren't working with the security team. And so, this newer 21st century sort of mindset is thinking about, okay, these are all the same sides, different sides of the same sort of plan. Like we need to think about like the work that we're trying to do, and how is this work being expressed by the individual employees and the stakeholders and the customers, and how are those interactions happening? So it's really like bringing the sum of all these parts together, and just making sure that we're identifying when we need to be thinking about new things. And I say that because in the past, procurement used to come through new technology used to come through procurement process, right? So some smart person in IT would say, oh, we need a new email server, right? And then the procurement team would say, okay, we're going to go buy an email server. And then, that email server was coming in and it was installed. And then everyone started to use it. And presumably somewhere along the way, the security team and the risk team and the business continuity teams and all these other folks would talk about those same types of things. Now, today, like if I wanted to go get a new service on the web, it's a few search engine links away. I might click on like try now, and I might start using a service for my entity and organization. And I might just start to use it with me and my coworkers initially, and then that might get larger and larger. And before you know it, like IT is asking, well, what is this new service that Matt brought in? Like, what is this thing? And that's the new reality. The new reality is we're constantly trying all these different services, and that increased frequency of the infusion of technology is what is empowering sort of our productivity as we're moving forward. But then it also is increasing this surface area and this complexity, and the challenges that we have. And so, yeah, we need to be, as I said over and over again here, we need to be really conscientious and thoughtful about what we're trying to do, and really think, okay, gosh, this new service here is really neat. If I upload all my financial data to it, like it can help me analyze my forecast. Well, let's think about, okay, what will happen if that service is hacked, right? Like I've given them my financial information, and maybe it's SSL, HTTPS secured, so I know the transport is secured, but I don't know what they're doing with it on the back end. And so we need to really be thinking about that and asking those questions. Okay, what would happen if they were hacked, or what would happen if they misuse or store the information in a way that other people could see it? And so that's what we all need to be sort of thinking about in this sort of new hybrid world of like, how is this workflow going? And speaking of tools, there are a proliferation of an amazing amount of online project management tools that a lot of people, including myself, have experimented with and found, okay, these are much better than the desktop tools that I've been used to. But we have to be thinking about, okay, what does this mean? What's the sensitivity of the data that we're putting into these systems? What's the risk if the system is compromised? And those are all questions you need to be sort of asking yourself.
So it's about being thoughtful as well as responsible when you are using, being in a hybrid mode or a remote mode. Is that that's what I gather from what you have said right now. Follow the guidelines that your organization has already set it for you.
Yes, it is. It is a shared responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility to think about security. It's no longer just the security team or the risk team or some other team. Like it really is everyone's responsibility.
So I will pause for a moment to see if our audience has any question for you on the chat. And do we have any questions? I am not able to see any as of now. Damike, Robert, do you see any questions for Matt on the chat?
Well, not at the moment.
Not at the moment. Yes. So, Matt, then I have a question for you. Do we have PMI guidance on leading projects in this area?
Yeah, we don't have explicit like how to lead a security project. When we're trying to develop guidance at the PMI sort of global level, the mantra is usually most projects most of the time? Like, can we provide guidance that applies, generally applicable to everything? And that's challenging, right? So if you've ever looked at the series of PMBOK volumes, the PMBOK has sort of ebbed and flowed in number of page lengths, because we're always trying to figure out, okay, what is the right balance on, giving specific guidance, versus, generic, useful, helpful, advice that applies to all projects. And we have not yet gotten to writing like an appendix. Sometimes we'll write an appendix or an add-on for a particular area. We're doing one now for construction, actually, for construction project management, and we have not yet done one for like cybersecurity or how to manage things securely. We do. I would recommend everyone sort of look at the PMI Insights. So we have this sort of physical and electronic newsletter that we send out. We also publish everything to the website, so I'll post that in the chat as well. We do have some articles that we publish around cybersecurity and sort of how to think about these types of things. So when people have questions, they can look online, find some resources there. Though quite frankly, the most powerful attribute of being involved in the PMI community is the word community. Like, we are all here together. There's 400, almost 500 people here. Sort of the best people you can ask are your fellow PMI community members, because I can guarantee you every problem I've ever had, whenever I've gone to my PMI sort of colleagues and asked the question, I will get 3 or 4 answers that I've never even thought about. And that's really what is energizing to me, and why I stay active as a volunteer within PMI, because yes, there's plenty out there, published knowledge and reading and all that's great. But then just getting the real world experience from somebody like, oh yes, we went through that in my company and this is how we approached it, or oh, this is something you should be thinking about, or oh, go ask this question. That level of networking is really what is so amazing about this community.
Yeah, definitely. You just took the words out of my mouth, and the power of the community is unimaginable. I mean, I always go to projectmanagement.com and type in a question, ask a question, and I get so many answers. I mean, stuff that I've never thought about, and then you start thinking in a different direction and come up with innovative ideas. Definitely, a community is the best way to get all your answers. I would say that's my experience. Any tips or actionable information that will help us to improve our own personal and professional cybersecurity posture, Matt?
Yeah, so PMI does not have any specific certifications or badges directly related to security, though security is being woven into almost everything that we're doing now. And so like our most recent product, Wicked Problem Solving, has some thoughts around sort of like how do we just be smart and thinking about agility and this sort of technology infusion, things like that. People were asking sort of online what types of certifications could a PM get. CISSP is one of the gold standards for security. It's sort of the PMP equivalent in the security realm, and we certainly appreciate that organization and are training everything we can to sort of partner together. Though it is a high bar for a lot of folks, and so sometimes the starting block is what's called Security Plus, which is sort of the CAP-M equivalent of the CISSP. I'm sure there's others as well. Someone's mentioned here the CISM. I'm not as familiar with that, but I know that's in that sort of same family. And I have the Security Plus. I found it extremely valuable when I got it, oh gosh, almost 15 years ago now, right when it first came out. And it was really helpful because it just by even sitting for that exam and sort of reading some of the content materials around it, it really gave me, again, some perspectives around like physical security. Like, I've never been assigned to guard the physical security of a building before. And that, that sort of gave me a whole new perspective on the polite people who guard our buildings that I work in and walk in and out of almost every day. Like, I know what they're doing, and not that I didn't know what they were doing before, but I have a better appreciation for why they're an important link in this sort of entire security chain. And so broadening your understanding, and quite frankly, just attending Q&As like this, these types of sessions are really going to be informative. And then watching quite frankly, you can learn a lot on YouTube. Not everything on YouTube is true, so definitely fact check things. But you will find some trusted sources on YouTube, and then you'll get into some explainer videos. And so if you're really interested in going in depth on a particular area, if you've heard about TLS encryption and you really want to know what does that mean, like you could find hopefully a reputable YouTuber out there who's explaining it to your liking. So there's a lot of ways you can inform yourself.
So that's good. I got some good tips and I can start my cybersecurity journey then, Matt. Thank you very much. Any words of wisdom for the young change makers in this area?
Yeah, so oftentimes early in your career, and I'll sort of acknowledge I look like I'm early in my career. I am not. That's just sort of an artifact of sort of I guess my genetics. But early in my career, I struggled to know sort of what my next step was. And sometimes you're within an organization, there's a bit of a career ladder. Like I'm in this role, and I can go to this role, and I can go to this role. And sometimes that's what you're interested in. Sometimes you're not interested in that next role, and you're just trying to figure out how can I sort of make an impact? How can I sort of do more in the world? How can I sort of make a name for myself? And my pro tip has been to everybody, which is just find a mentor who's not in your organization, right? And again, this is where the community sort of comes into play. Find someone who you can trust, build a relationship with and a friendship with. And then ask them questions, and then they're gonna give you advice that is gonna be unnerving. Like you're gonna be uncomfortable by some of the things that they recommend, and you need to sort of acknowledge why you're uncomfortable about those things. And you shouldn't do everything that you're uncomfortable with, but you should understand when you're uncomfortable because you're staying in your own bubble, and when you need to expand yourself. And so be thinking about sort of opportunities to sort of you try something you may not have tried before, or maybe go in a direction that this other person. People often know you better than you know yourself sometimes, and so sometimes they will say, "Hey, listen, you're really good at this," and by them saying that, you didn't even realize that you were good at that thing. But then they say, "Okay, because of that, you should try this other thing." And sometimes some of my best career advice throughout my career, which has been pretty eclectic, has been at other people's recommendations. So, there are leaps that I would not have made if I didn't have, good friends and mentors along the way. You're really encouraging me, hey, get out of your comfort zone. I know what you're doing right now is comfortable and safe, but you can't keep doing it forever. Like you need to try to do more. And so that's what I really recommend is always find those good friends and mentors who are outside your normal circle, who can give you that perspective.
So find good friends, find mentors who are outside your normal circle, and go into uncharted waters. You will always learn something new. So I would take that away, not only for young change makers, but for old change makers like us. So thank you, Matt, for your words of wisdom. So with a big round of applause, Matt, thank you for joining us today. And we will move on to the next section of our event. Over to you, Dhammiki.
Thanks, Priya. So just a snapshot of our program. Ours is a PMI chapter collaboration initiative. This is indeed one team, one song, and one dance. So we have 23 partnering chapters and 3 supporting chapters on this program, representing all 16 regions that PMI is in today. So PMI Chapter Exchange is a virtual community of chapter leaders, a community that transcends across countries, continents, and cultures. So we like to put it this way. Our vision is to evangelize cross-chapter collaboration and encourage cultural diversity. It is all about teamwork, co-creating monthly events to bring diverse perspectives to our chapter members, sparring network and collaboration opportunities. So, and by doing this, we building a community to share good practices within and external to the program. That's why you will notice chapters from diverse backgrounds participating in this program, because we truly believe diverse connections leads to innovative solutions. Now, let's introduce our spotlight chapter of the month. Over to you, Robert.
Thank you, Damike. Today, our spotlight chapter is one of the anchor chapters of this initiative, which is a 23-way chapter knowledge exchange. And let me introduce Jacob, the president of PMI Mumbai chapter. Just as a brief introduction, Jacob has IT specialization in the banking industry, and he has been in that space for over 15 years, and he specializes in training, in project management, motivational and personality training development on the soft skills side. But before I give the stage to Jacob, let me just pose a couple of questions. What is the time there, Jacob, and what date is it today? Because of these time differences.
Hi, everyone. It's good evening from here. It is 8 o'clock in the evening. So that is 20 hours. So 8 in the evening here in India, in Bombay, in Mumbai. And like Priya Patra, myself, we belong to the Mumbai chapter. And it has been a pleasure. I've been with the chapter for a pretty long time, more than 10 years. Another question, like you asked me just now as to what is the time here, which I mentioned now, Robert. I also would like to just highlight on our monogram that we have on our PMI Mumbai chapter. You see a structure there, and if you see the picture back again, can someone bring the picture back again? No, not mine. Mumbai chapter's picture.
Oh yeah, the previous one. Yeah, I was about to ask that. What is the significance of that?
Yeah. That's very interesting. Very interesting in today's circumstance, and particularly in today's scenario. That thing over there, that is what we have on our chapter. A symbol that is the gateway of India, as they say, the gateway of India, which is at Mumbai, and that is the Arabian Sea, on which the gateway of India stands. It's a structure which is there since 1911. Why 1911? So we were a colonial country. We were under British for more than 200 years. And somehow or the other, we still have the colonial past, and we continue to have that as the symbol of Mumbai. Maybe we should keep moving on. But then anyway, let's cut the story short. So there you have that Gateway of India, which actually commemorated the arrival of King George and Queen Mary in 1911. Now, Queen Mary and King George were the grandfather of Queen Elizabeth, who passed away recently. That's why I said there is a little bit of connection with what is happening today. So this royal couple came to India in 1911, and that structure was inserted or created that time in 1911. So it's 110 years old. Okay, so that's as far as our symbol of our chapter is concerned. I think that gives you some idea. So, coming back to the chapter itself, I'd like to just mention here that we are among the first chapter. We are about 9 chapters in India, and Mumbai is one of the first one, along with Bangalore. And today it is also the biggest chapter. We have got more than 1,600 members in our chapter. We are among the big chapters. We have been around 20 years. We have a lot of things which is going back to 20 years. We have our trainings that is happening for the last 20 years, not only on PMP, but even other areas of Agile and CAPM and many others. We also have a magazine which has been in circulation for the past 20 years, which is called Prakalp. And we have the printer version and the electronic version, which has been in circulation regularly once in a quarter for the past 20 years. That's a great thing that we admire ourselves about. We do have a lot of professionals from all kinds of walks of life, and not only particularly to the IT industry. I myself am from the banking industry, and cybersecurity is something that is very close to the banking industry, as you all know. And as Matt was talking about cybersecurity, it is a matter of great concern with data moving into the cloud and with work from home. Cybersecurity has a huge impact, especially in the banking industry. Especially when you have work from home culture and you also have what is known as, maybe which is legally not correct, what is known as moonlighting. That also creates its own issues of cybersecurity. Coming back to the chapter, we do a lot of thing, and this particular thing that reaching out to 23 other chapters and doing this as a monthly thing, to ensure it will reach the very pinnacle of success with all the other chapters. Everybody is aware of this, and this is a very big talking point. We are having we conduct our conferences or conclaves from time to time. This year, we are going to have a huge conference, which is going to take place in the month of December in Mumbai. And in this conference, we will have all the chapters of India as well as South Asia, that is the chapter of Bangladesh, as well as of Sri Lanka. Both of them who are represented here right now as the panelists, Anisha and Amake from Sri Lanka. We will be all meeting here in December. All of you are welcome. We will be having a lot of great speakers who will be speaking on various areas, and the theme of the program itself is hybrid and beyond, as far as project management is concerned. Is there anything I missed out, Priya? Or do you want something else? Yeah, there is the slide that has come about the project management South Asia Conference 22, that is on 9th and 10th December at Nehru Center in Mumbai.
I think that's all, Jacob. Thanks for introducing Mumbai, the city.
I had a question for Matt. I was just talking I just spoke about cybersecurity, especially in the very critical areas like banking industry, how it will affect in this new world after post-COVID, when you say about it's a hybrid training, and also the concept of moonlighting that is happening nowadays. Moonlighting where one work for some other company, which is of course clandestine, and it is also not legal. But cybersecurity is a big nightmare, is a big question at that point in time. So Matt, I would be very happy if you could share something on this. Yeah, Priya, please.
Matt, if you're still there, would you like to take
I'm here. I'd be happy to talk about that. So, from a moonlighting perspective, we have to really sort of, again, drive education home to people that, while you might be doing multiple things, you need to be sort of aware of the type of data insecurity around what you are dealing with, and that data, if it commingles with other data, then you could sort of be held sort of liable and responsible. And so for the folks I know who moonlight, they're usually pretty good about keeping two separate devices, right? So they're not doing the whole personal and work on the same phone, because they don't want to have work one and work two and personal all on the same phone. They want to have one laptop for work one and one laptop for work two. And so quite frankly, it comes back to sort of education and sort of awareness of like, listen, it may be legal or illegal depending on your jurisdiction or where you are, but just sort of helping people to make smart choices. And this is where, again, there's a lot of software that organizations have to sort of gain telemetry on sort of what their members and stakeholders are doing. And so sometimes that can be seen as sort of sort of oversight or big brother, but at other times it's really a way to sort of protect everyone involved, make sure that you're not inadvertently doing something that might endanger the security of the data that you're working with.
Thank you, Matt. And Sabi, maybe this is a question we may want to take with our panels as well in the next section. And here, over to you, Damike, to introduce Sabi, our moderator of the day.
Thanks, Priya. So let me introduce you to our session moderator, Sabi. So a bit about Sabi. He is an award-winning senior technology leader, assisting multiple diverse clients in their business transformation through project success, fostering communications across various departments, and assisted customers in creating effective solutions to complex problems. He has been acknowledged by publications, industry peers, partners, colleagues, and institutions as an accomplished and trusted creative thinker, providing transformative IT services, and an inclusive leader. An internationally recognized keynote speaker, trainer, and coach, his speech engagements are energetic, inspiring, lively, and engaging. Sabi, over to you to introduce the speakers and take the moderation forward.
Damike, it's always great to be back at Chapter Exchange. So this is my second term coming back. We did another session on AI and project management. That was a fun one. And I have a long-term connection with Mumbai. I started my journey, my career journey, working for L&T Infotech back in Mumbai. That was my starting point. So it's always nostalgic. When I see that gateway of India, it brings all those memories. So thank you for inviting me back. Really excited to be back. So thank you for that warm welcome. So we have great panelists today. We're going to have a great time. So let's start with Barbara. Barbara, could you please introduce yourself and tell us, where are you from? Again, what time? It's an international time zone. So what time of the day it is, and what has been your connection with cybersecurity and project management?
Thank you so much. My name is Barbara Chinzunza. I am from the Zimbabwe chapter. Right now it's 1640, basically 10 to 5. I've been in the industry for 18 years. And my main focus when I started was really in the fintech software development, and moved on to project management. And currently I'm working for one of the fast growing digital banks in Zimbabwe as a project director. My part-time, I train Prince 2, ISO 27000, and I also implement the same. So in terms of cybersecurity, maybe I have gone through it mainly through my trainings for ISO 27001, but my strong background is really project management. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Barbara. Great to see that training background. That's always a way of, giving back and brings those different perspectives. Really appreciate that. So I'm going to go to Shaukat. Shaukat, welcome. And please, same question for you. Please share your journey.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Shaukat from Bangladesh. I work for a multinational mobile operator in cybersecurity and governance team. Basically, I manage the organizational projects, especially that cybersecurity part. And there are another kinds of project, which is pure cybersecurity project. So these two kind of projects actually I manage. And I have 18 plus years working experience. And I have done some cybersecurity certification like CISSP, CCSP, CSSLP, CISA, CISOM, CIRIX, PMP, 14 of them in last 3 years. And actually now I'm just working to get more experience and also mitigate the gap between theoretical and practical life. So basically, that's a brief about myself. Thank you.
Thank you. That's not brief, Shaukat. 14 certifications, man. That's quite an achievement. Congratulations on that. That's amazing. Thank you. Great to be here. Soner, you are next. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer of this meeting for inviting me here today, especially PMI Exchange team. And my name is Soner. I am from Turkey chapter. Now it is 5 p.m. here. And I am currently information security analyst at MoneyGram International. And I graduated from the National Defense University. Have been working in the IT industry for the past 15 years. Primarily working in technical security and project management roles. On the other hand, my literacy skills are also quite high. I published academic papers, especially in cybersecurity areas as well. Also, freelance instructor, EC Consul Code Red. You can find much more than in my LinkedIn account. And I would love to work with a company helping them improve their business by focusing on cybersecurity issues. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Soner. Thank you for joining us from Turkey. Daniel, you are next, buddy. Welcome.
Thanks, Abby. Thanks. And hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, night. It's morning for me. I am connecting from Santiago de Chile in Latin America. I was originally born and raised in Uruguay, very close to Chile, 2 hours flight from where I am now. And I moved to Chile 4 years ago for professional reasons. I work with Microsoft, and I have been with them for the last 18 years. I will stop counting because it's getting to a big number. But yeah, I started in Uruguay with them, always related to technology. I have been a cybersecurity champ in Uruguay. I was involved in many cyber engagements. I have changed a little bit now. I am the country engineering lead for Chile. As you know, Microsoft is one of the cloud hyperscalers we have in the world, and I am landing and helping land the Azure cloud in the region. And also, I have been very involved with PMI for the last 10 years, almost 10 years. I am a PMP. I have been a volunteer from day one. I am a member of three chapters, Montevideo, Santiago, and Nuevo Cuyo. I have been president of my chapter, and now I have a global volunteer role as youth advisor, youth and social impact advisor for Latin America. So it's an honor to be here, and I look forward to have a very insightful conversation with all of you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Really appreciate it. You know, it's great to see that you're a member of so many chapters, man. You need to add United States. Maybe I'm from PMI Portland. We need to invite you, come a member of PMI Portland. We can cheers together. So there you go.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah, that would be great.
Awesome. So quick, my name is Sabi Wadash. My full name is Sarabjit Singh Wadash. I go by Sabi. My journey with project management started in the year 2008. I cleared my PMP, and my very first project, which I was given, was PCI compliance project, which is the payment card industry compliance project. And that's where my journey started in information security and everything. In my current role, I am a chief information officer and a chief information security officer. So I play dual hats in there, but 60% of my job is I'm doing at CISO every day. So that's my journey. And I'm also a volunteer with PMI Portland chapter. I've been the past president of PMI Portland chapter, so about 14 years volunteering there and about 25 years experience in IT. So with that, we have a lot of these, pre-questions for our panelists. So I'm going to kick off with the very first one for Barbara. Barbara, who is a cybersecurity project manager? And we have a regular project manager, and then comes in, oh, I'm a cybersecurity project manager. Who is that person?
Okay. Confirm you can hear me?
Yes, I can. Absolutely.
Excellent. The most important thing is that you need a project manager to run a cybersecurity related project. And the key skills that are basically required is that you need somebody who has gone through the learning of project management. They understand the principles, they understand the methodologies, they understand governance, They can do risk management, proper communication. And then the next thing now is, how then do you blend it with what? With cyber, so that you are in a position to actually attain your goals and objectives as a project. One important thing is that the project manager, it's possible that you can possibly not have maybe the cyber skills. So you would need a subject matter expert who can then guide the team in terms of how to implement the project so that it can still attain its objectives. If the project manager has got the cybersecurity skills, it's a plus, because it then helps you to ensure that you can clearly articulate the risk management process in terms of understanding the vulnerabilities, the threats, how to ensure that you actually improve the security posture for your organization. So what is very key from everything else is you should have the project management skills, because they are the ones that will actually help you to transition from the start to the end of the project, depending on what is the nature of the project. You know, the good thing about project management, I think, which was mentioned by Matt, the way we have been taught is such that it should apply across all industries. It's not specific to construction, to cyber. So if you take those skills and you apply them in your project, you then should be in a position to maneuver any cybersecurity projects. Thank you.
Yeah, great thoughts, right? You know, the project management creates that foundation. You should have that strong foundation on which you can build on those different verticals, whether it's construction, whether it's cyber, or anything like that. So great tips in there. Shaukat, I'm coming to you for a question. You know, and that was a question also asked in the Q&A session. You have so many certifications, right? What kind of certifications will make a project manager to deliver those projects successfully? I already got my PMP. Where should I go next? You know, what will help me stand out to deliver those cybersecurity project managers projects successfully?
Thank you. I think Matt already mentioned the name of one certification, CISSP, which is very famous and very, I think, good certification. After doing CISSP, actually, you will have a very solid and strong background of cybersecurity. You can manage the projects in the software. You can manage the projects networks or even in the clouds. So CISSP should be the one of the best certification that can give you a very solid background to manage your projects well.
Awesome. Thank you, Shaukat, for that. You know, I'm going to give a little bit of my perspective on certifications as well and what is going to help. You know, in the United States, federal government is putting a lot of effort. You know, there is an institution called CISA, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. They have a certification. It's called PM in IT Security Certification. If you haven't heard it, that's a great certification if you're a project manager. You can search for it. It's an initiative. It's called National Initiative for Cybersecurity Careers and Studies, NICCS. So if you go to Google and look for that certification, it talks about, you know, what are the 3 things which any project manager who's doing these cybersecurity projects need to be aware about, right? Risk management, software development, systems development. Priya talked about that, right? When you're developing those software, you need to be looking at those things and making sure that you are building that software securely. So thank you for that. So a little bit of insights on that. I'm going to go to Soner now. You know, everybody says, you know, anybody who doesn't know cybersecurity thinks, oh, it's a technology problem. You IT folks take care of it. We don't need to, you know, think about it. So how, as a project manager, you're going into this project, you can handle this problem saying, hey, it's not business problem. It's technology problem. How can you turn that around?
Okay, I want to ask a question for our audience. Do you know if your organization has experienced a cyber attack?
Yeah, that's a great question. So put it in the chat box. Question asked by Soner.
Do you know if your organization has experienced a cyber attack?
Yeah.
Yes, there are some answers. The reason.
Yeah, some of those Soner might not be able to, you know, tell that out loud the public. They don't want to get their name out. But I will tell you, we face cyber attack every single day.
The reason why I asked that question in particular way is I have been known to say there are only two kinds of organization anymore in the world. Those that know they have been cyber attack and those that don't yet know have been cyber attack. Yesterday, Uber had a cyber attack. Maybe you have heard news about this one. And the reason I said that is according to studies done, the average cyber attack has been going on for over 200 days before it's detected. And in the especially Asia Pacific region, the numbers closer to the 300 days. Maybe next time we will talk again and see where things stand. And imagine, for example, you are running a bank and manufacturer company, or even the project management institute, if you will, and some enemy aircraft are flying overhead, dropping bombs on your facilities, and you would expect the Indian Air Force or whatever your country you are in go up there and shoot those people down. If they are doing the exact same thing through a cyber attack, guess what? What country governments do? Good luck. You are largely on your own. That is the issue, I think. Most governments haven't really thought well how to deal with it. And as Matt mentioned, cyber security is the now responsibility of everyone in your organization, not just your technology department. And you can ask how can project managers handle this problem. I think first is make yourself a harder target. It is like an old joke about the bear. Two guys are running away from the bear. I don't have to run faster than the bear. I just got to run faster than my friend, right? Yes? Make yourself a harder target. And the next thing, identify your Chrome jewels. We said Chrome jewels. What is Chrome jewels? Data. What is it? Where it is? Who has access? The only three things you explain. And it would be nice to protect everything, and you have to have layers of protection on everything. But at the same point, you have to make a decision what the Chrome jewels are. And the last one, you should have a plan for when that plan fails. No matter how many levels of protection you put in place, there is always a blind spot where you just couldn't anticipate an attack. Once your system has been compromised, you have to have response and recovery plans in place. One of the best things and leaders, the last thing I think, leaders can do, make cybersecurity top priority. And project managers also make their teams keep cybersecurity project team priority. And as a result, technology and training also safeguard. But today's listen of cybersecurity attacks, it is not convinced. And in an article I wrote, I suggest a multidisciplinary approach. There is a point, social science researchers and engineering technology researchers agree on one point today. The cybersecurity and cyberspace problem area is not just a subject that requires technical solution. And we use multidisciplinary approach. Thanks.
Yeah. No, thank you. You touched so many of those points, right, in there. So, Priya, could you please share the poll? This is for our audience. Have you ever managed a compliance or information security project? I want to see how many of you have done that. Dhamike or Priya, if we can do that Menti poll right now, that would be great to see. What is our audience looks like today?
Yeah, so poll Menti code is on the chat. Menti.com and 5412650.
So I can't see the poll. So if you can let me know what people are saying, right? How many of the folks have managed a compliance or information security project to get a feel for that?
Sharing my screen.
Awesome. Thank you.
Do you see
Yeah,
it?
go to I can see it. Well, go to menti.com, use that code 54122650. It's right there on the top of the screen. We have what? Close to 500 participants, and I'm seeing only 28. That's not a good number. Come on. Yeah. I see that number jumping 40, 41. Let's keep going. You know, my usually number is about, if we hit that 3-digit number, we're in a good shape. Again, go to that menti.com and use that code 54122650 to tell me if you have ever managed a compliance or information security project.
Well, it looks like I would have thought no, but it looks like many people have managed.
Yeah,
Lines are,
yeah, I see a lot of no's and definitely some yeses. About 106, 60, about 60-40 ratio right now.
Right.
60% of the folks haven't managed. Well, if you haven't managed an information security project, it's coming. Definitely for sure. As Priya said, a lot of folks are investing in that cybersecurity. Spending is definitely going on. And if you're looking at the cybersecurity field, it's one of the, I think it's among the top 10 fastest growing fields right now. There are 3.5 million jobs which are open by 2025. So get going in that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Priya. That's a good number. I think that's the ratio, 40 to 60. So appreciate that. So I'm going to go to my next question. We've talked about working from home, working from office, working from a cafe. You don't know where your team members are working from, right? This is the new hybrid. So how has hybrid mode change this whole cyber security project workflow? So Daniel, this is a question for you.
Yeah, it's a good one, Xavi. And it has changed big time, right? Because in one hand, it has enabled us to continue working, to continue reaching our objectives as persons, as professionals, as our organizations, to continue moving the world forward. But also, in terms of cybersecurity, it has increased the attack surface, expanded that attack surface big time, right? So as Matt was saying at the beginning, we used to have this castle or this edge where we think, okay, everything inside is secure and the bad guys are outside. Now that edge has been blurred, right? The edge is me, is the person, is the identity of the person, wherever that person is in the world, and whatever device is using to connect and to use and to collaborate with information with other people. So I would say, related to to the poll that we just made, for me personally, I think every project now is a cybersecurity project, because you can be implementing cybersecurity technology, and that's a very specific cybersecurity project. But I think that every project, regardless is technology, construction, finance, space travel, whatever you're working in, it needs to have the cybersecurity optics implemented in them, no? And this needs to be managed from a risk management perspective, and talking to your point of the workflow on project management, I think from the beginning, from project charter, and especially in risk management, we need to have a category, a big category involved, and highlighted cybersecurity, because these are high probability, high impact risks that we need to manage from the day zero, from pre-planning the project, right, for every project. Yes, and there are some things that there are basic things that we need to take care, like in this hybrid world that you were mentioning, Xavi. For example, having good credential hygiene, identity hygiene. And I mean, what kind of technology are we using to authenticate with these systems that we are interacting? Are we using multi-factor authentication, for example? That's a good plus. Are we using passwordless? That's another trend that we're seeing and increasingly seeing to reduce the brute force password attack kind of vectors. So those are things that we need to think. And I will say it's okay to have this like certification that project managers that know the basics about cybersecurity, but I would also suggest that we always have a cybersecurity SME or an SME team, a subject matter expert team, to give us the latest on what is going on and what's the best we can do to manage cybersecurity risks in the specific project we're working on. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very insightful. Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, you need to know the language. You need to have that when you're having that intelligent conversation with your subject matter expert. As a PM, you should be able to understand those concepts. So you don't need to be super expert. If you are, nothing bad in that. But don't get discouraged that, hey, I have to become an expert in there. You need subject matter experts in your organizations who are doing that job day in, day out. You are a PM. You need to know that high level language to have that intelligent conversation. Great. So thank you for that. My next question, I saw a lot of these folks who haven't managed yet information security project or a compliance project, 60-40 ratio. So Barbara, question for you. I'm a project manager. How can I break into the cybersecurity industry? How can I, what will make me go into that? 60% of the folks right there on the call haven't gotten into that. So what will help them to get into that?
Thank you so much for your question. You find that with some of us, we've actually been lucky because the skills around cybersecurity, they are not as many. So just your qualification as a project manager, it could be PMP, Prince2, is just going to definitely take you into that industry because there are no other options. But in an industry where maybe there are so many skilled people, your journey will be like this. First thing, of course, you need to get your set with regards to project management. You also need to ensure that you can strengthen your security understanding, because without that understanding, it can become a challenge in terms of implementing some of the projects, because you need to be understanding what it is that you are implementing. So what are some of the sets that you can also get that can enable you as a PM to be in a position to sufficiently implement a cybersecurity project? We have got I2. It's a life cycle IT certification, which helps you to understand the stages that you need to follow to ensure that you can provide that value for your organization. You also would need something around CISM. It helps you to basically understand security-related aspects, because without that understanding, sometimes it becomes a challenge in your implementation. So that certification would also help. And you could touch also on ISO 27000, just basic understanding of security management, security implementation, because that then helps you as a project manager to know how best to fit the requirements within the life cycle of the project. So what I would then recommend for everyone who intends to move into this cyberspace is you also need to implement your certifications along the sidebar route so that you're in a better position to manage those projects. If you don't have, these platforms that we have, they are also quite insightful. They help us to be in a position to understand some of the things that will be required to be in a position to sufficiently implement projects, go into the lessons learned of some projects that have also been implemented. They go a long way in actually helping you to usher into this young industry. But what is most important for you is to just make sure that you map that journey, that career growth for yourself. In as much as you've got your PMP, your Prince2, but you need to make sure that it has been cemented by the right certifications from security. I just wanted to add on I think what Sona was highlighting also around security being everyone's responsibility. One of the key things that I've also come across is about an organization is secure as its human firewall, which basically means that each and every person that we have within our organization has got the responsibility to ensure that we are safe. Most of the attacks that have actually happened to organizations have been through social engineering. People just don't know that some of the information that we might be sharing, it might be, at a gathering, is sufficient information to actually be attacked by, people that want to penetrate organizations. So it's quite important that we do not make the cyber-related project specific to IT, but we understand that these projects are for the whole organization, and each and every person should be in a position to carry their responsibility with regards to security. Thank you.
Yeah, no, great insights in there, right? So now my next question, and it's open to the panel here. I'm a project manager, and I see this cybersecurity project managers. What kind of projects do they manage, right? What are those different projects? Are there like specific projects which I'll be asked to manage? So can you give some examples if I am breaking into that industry that I might be asked to lead a specific kind of project? So it's open to, whosoever wants to go first. So on that, so I don't know who wants to take that question first.
Maybe I could start. I will start with projects that are specific to my own industry, which is banking. So basically, some of the projects that you are then asked to lead to ensure that you can safeguard security within your organization include things like PCI DSS. This is a standard. This is basically a standard that is implemented so that you can actually secure your cards, your data as an organization. So that is an example of a project that you can actually be asked to lead. And as part of software development, one other area that is key is that most of the softwares that we develop mobile applications, we develop internet banking applications. So these applications are actually within the cyberspace. And because they are within the cyberspace, they are also vulnerable to attacks by some of these cyber attacks. So you can also be asked to lead a project that can manage penetration testing, which will help the organization to ensure that before they have deployed any of their projects, the software, the product is actually gone through penetration testing, because at the end of the day, you want to be sure that when your customers as a bank are transacting, they are not exposed to some of these threats where they can actually end up losing their money. So things around penetration testing can be a project, PCI DSS can be a project, identity management can also be a project. So some of these projects are the ones that you'll be asked to actually lead within the fintech and banking sector. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Barbara. Who wants to go next?
If I can jump in there, Sabi, I at least from a Microsoft perspective, we like to see 3 different categories in cyber projects. You have the protect stage, you have the detect stage, and the respond stage. So if you're talking about protecting, you're talking about projects that will implement controls, hardening, different technologies and habits in people to mitigate the risk of mitigate, because there's no 100% in cybersecurity, so mitigate at the minimum the chances that something happens. Then you have the detect projects, which is, for example, implementing an SOC, Security Operations Center, or a technology or a set of technologies and habits that can help your organization detect when something out of the ordinary is happening. And the last kind and more of a reactive projects are the day after, right? The respond. It's more of a reactive work on responding to a cyber incident, but the day after the incident or weeks after the incident, there are projects and big projects that are executed to evaluate damage, to repair, to ensure you get back to a healthy and trustworthy state. So I will say I have seen those 3 different categories of project that you could be working on as a cybersecurity PM.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to give a little bit of my example here. So another piece where a PM can help any organization is to become that strategic PM, right? Where most of the time we're in operations and managing those operational stuff. Great examples there. But you can actually help our organization to build that security roadmap. Right? That could be a project saying, okay, because every organization, we talk about anything before even go into doing any kind of projects. You need to understand the risk maturity level of that. What is their appetite for risk? Appetite for risk, banking industry is totally different from a risk appetite from somebody in maybe manufacturing. It could be totally different for somebody in medical, right? So the very first thing what you have to do is doing that assessment of your organization. What is the risk appetite? That you have a roadmap for your organization. So one of my PM actually helped me to build that roadmap, and that roadmap actually identified 46 different projects. And those different projects, as Daniel or Barbara has shared, is like identity access management, MFA, multi-factor authentication was another one. Writing policies and procedures, getting those done is another project for any organization. So there are multiple ways where a PM can come and help him and do all kind of projects. So I'm gonna go to the poll question here, Priya. If the folks know, what does the CIA triad stands for in information security? So this is a puzzle question for you. Don't Google. I want to hear from you if you have any ideas. Okay. Oh wow, people are already saying it. Okay. What does CIA triad stands for in information security? I'm seeing. Go to menti.com. Use that code 54122650. It's also on the top of your screen. "13 participants. Come on. You know my number. I need 100 to move forward." I think we have, Answer is here: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. What does that mean, right? So what does that CI means? That means when these confidentiality is basically to maintain the confidentiality of any organization, like only authorized parties and processes should be able to access that data. That is the confidentiality. Now, how do you integrity? What does integrity stands for? You have to preserve the integrity of the data, making sure nobody's playing with the data. Nobody's changing Sabi's social security number or his phone number with something else, right? It must prevent that tampering which is going on. And then data availability, what does that mean? That means, that systems and networks should be running smoothly. That people should be able to access those systems, should have access to that data whenever they need to be. I need to look at my payroll. I should be able to check that payroll right now. It should be accessible. That system shouldn't be down because I need to access those. So all these cyber attacks which are happening, they actually try to attack one of these legs. Either they are trying to go after the confidentiality of that, either they're going to try to go after the integrity of the data, or they're going to actually try to see, okay, we have these denial of services attack, DDoS, right? So they're gonna give you won't be able to access those systems. So that's the 3 pillar which we talk about in information security. So my question to you, Soner, is, there are a lot of these risks. Thank you, Priya, for this. I think we are done with this poll. Appreciate it. So, Soner, we have these risks in cyber risk project. So, how can a project manager reduce these cyber risks in the project?
Yeah. First of all, hackers are getting better at offense, and companies aren't getting better at defense. This is the key issue, I think. And I say that there are no best practices all. There are poor practices and less poor practices. You can never create a perfect defense. But I want to draw attention to some points for project managers, how to reduce the risk. First of all, project managers should define and communicate expectations and responsibilities around the cybersecurity with all stakeholders and suppliers. This should be legally binding whenever possible. And the second one is project manager use suppliers that are compliant with the relevant international standards, such as ISO and the other cyber standards. And cybersecurity project managers use ALARP. Do you know ALARP? Now I'm writing chat, and you can see there. They use ALARP, and it's about project risk assessment and define. They can use this principle. And the other things that project managers implement, maybe monitor a zero trust based data access policy. This includes the encryption of sensitive files and folders in project, and think before you click, download and install everything. This is same as zero trust based data access policy. And project managers also apply all software updates as soon as they become available. Maybe some project assistant use VPNs when they are working remotely, and they should enforce multi-factor authentication whenever available, and use strong passwords. These all can reduce the cyber risk in project.
Yeah. No, you touched really good points in there, right? So there are poor practices and very poor practices in any organizations. Right?
Every day we heard many news about cyber incident.
Yeah.
Really big data leaks. And there are poor practice, I think, less poor practice.
Okay, I will go with poor practices in there. One of the things which I've usually told my team is, hey, if somebody wants to hack us, right, we don't have any power in whatsoever to stop it, right? So we need to be very clear about that, right? So any organization, like smaller to medium-sized organizations, they don't have that funding. They might have, $500,000 in funding to $1 million. All these hackers, they have billions of dollars, and if they are after you, there is no way you can hide. What you can do is you can put a layered approach. What I say is layered approach is you put those barriers in there one after another. Whereas somebody is after you, they will say they hit one barrier, so I need to work on that. They hit another barrier and say I need to work on that, and then they're gonna hopefully go away somewhere else. It's this is not an easy target for me. So that's a layered approach of information security you should be doing in that. And then of course people, process, technology, right? We talk about that in project management. No matter how much cooler technology you have, what is the single most weakest link you have? Us, people. I'm gonna get an email saying, hey, congratulations, you just won $1 million, and I want those $1 million. I'm gonna click on that link, and guess what? My whole organization has been compromised right there because I wanted that $1 million, right? And these hackers are becoming smarter and smarter and smarter. So we need, good people, good PMs who understand these concepts of information security, so that when they are, doing these projects, they understand the value they are adding to their organization, right? It's huge. So, Shaukat, I'm going to come to you. Technology, digital transformation is happening. Most of our organizations are like, okay, what is digital transformation first? Okay, I need to go to the cloud. Okay, how many clouds you can have? Amazon is going to come with one cloud, and then you will say Microsoft is coming with another Azure cloud, and then another vendor is going to come and say, okay, I have my own cloud, public cloud, private cloud, all kind of things in cloud. So that's how can a cybersecurity project manager can support these digital transformation projects? Because all that needs, any project now needs that information security. But digital transformation is such a hot buzzword moving into the cloud. So how can a cybersecurity project manager can help in there?
Thank you. Cloud is the buzzword nowadays. I think there are two kinds of multinational companies. One are already in the cloud, and the second category are planning to move there. So only two categories. So this is a very, very, though the word is very simple, but whenever you move to the cloud, it's not that simple. It's a kind of complex thing. In the very first place, actually, you have to think which services should be moved into the cloud. Do actually every service of every organization should be in the cloud? The answer is no. You have to keep the core competent thing or data in your home, and then you can try with the other thing. You have to actually make some business analysis, actually, from which services you get the maximum benefit from the cloud. When any organization actually decides to move into the cloud, then you have to understand actually the flow of data, actually, where the at which point that data is crossing the borders. Then you have to think about the jurisdictional requirements. If, for example, you work with a Euro-based company, then you have to check with the cloud provider that GDPR is there. So, for example, you deal with the medical data, then you have to check with your cloud provider they are HIPAA compliant. And also, if you are ISO 27K company, then you have to check with the cloud. Do they actually practice all these kind of ISO 27K standards? And also, the SLA terms is very much important. What about the BCP and DR? I think the contracts in your with the cloud providers. What will happen when there is a disaster? Who will act and when? So there are actually a lot of things. If you think about the data in transit, data in storage, and data in usage, you have to think when you are sending your data to the cloud, actually when it's in storage, how the encryption is being managed, who is, I think, handling the encryption keys. So I'm just touching a few points, but there are actually a lot of points. Security manager, he has to first get a very depth knowledge in the cloud era. What could be the risks when you move to the cloud, understand, and then you have to do the risk management depending on your risk appetite of your management. So that's it.
Cool. Thank you, Shaukat. My question, okay, I'm a project manager. What does a project manager do, right? They look at the schedule, they have to now estimate how much time it's going to take. While you are, there are some cool estimation techniques going on right now in your, and this is a question open for any of the panelists, because these hackers are coming in, they're attacking every single day. How do I estimate my project? What kind of contingency should I need to have in my project to manage those, production even outbursts, or even a time when somebody hacks your organization and all your resources are now running towards making sure that we are safe and try to recover from it, and that actually impacts your project, right? Because those resources, those individuals, those team members are now working on that stuff. So how do you plan for those kind of contingencies in your project?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Barbara. Please.
You know what? I was actually fortunate enough to work in a project where in the midst of the implementation, because it was more of a hybrid model of operating with several people connecting from several places and in the midst of a project, we actually had a cyber attack. And remember, this is fairly new, and it's not something that you have actually incorporated as part of your planning. So you have people now trying to restore servers, people trying to ensure that you meet the deadlines and things like that. But I think what became a learning point for me and also for the organization was that it's high time as part of planning and as part of risk management, we actually identify risks that are related to cyber attacks and also put in contingencies which can help us as we implement to ensure that in the event that something like that happens, at least you can actually be in a position to borrow from the contingents and still meet your deadlines. So in the case of the project that we're implementing, we actually lost a month. And when we lost a month, we had to even start by coming up with new processes in terms of, okay, for those that are going to connect to our systems, what are the expectations? Because, when we started, everyone was just jumping around, connect from there. But what you don't understand is those that are connecting, you don't know where they're connecting from. Is it genuinely them? You need to be proving all those things. So you need processes to manage cyber attacks that can happen within a project. You need to put in contingencies to also manage that in the event that it has actually happened. You could actually put in maybe 10% of your total schedule towards eventualities that can actually result from cyber attacks. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, that's so important. You don't know who's joining from where, and that's having some contingency in there definitely helps. What about other folks? Anybody else wants to jump in? Okay, so I will give my perspective in that. So you have these cyber attacks which are going on, but what about these your cybersecurity team members? They are also at a big risk for your project. There is a great resignation which is going on in the United States and maybe other areas, right? I recently saw a study done by San Diego University. They said 46% of cybersecurity professionals are being contacted weekly by recruiters. So your cybersecurity team members who are going to work on your project, they are at risk of being poached away. Once they leave your organization, what's going to happen to your project, right? So you have to think about those things when you're managing that project. And there are about 714,000 jobs which are open right now in the United States. So there is a huge demand for cybersecurity professionals. That's a risk which you as a PM has to manage. So as Barbara said, make that as part of your risk register. You have to have a strong risk management process in place. So when these kind of things happen, how are you going to mitigate that, right? Do you have those relationships with third-party vendors who can come in and provide you those services so that it doesn't impact your project? You have to have those vendor relationships in place so that's the way you're going to mitigate those risks in there. So think about those strategies when you're managing your projects. Okay. So I'm going to quickly look into the chat box and see if there are any other questions. If you have any questions, folks, please feel free to put that in the chat box. We are monitoring that and we are trying to answer those questions as much as we can. So somebody said, drones are used in project management and security. How exposed are drones to cyber threats? Have you seen anything? Any drones being hacked, and now rather than dropping that shipment at somebody's place, it's dropping a shipment at a hacker's place? What's going on with those drones? Anybody has any insights to share on that? Or something similar?
Yeah, maybe, Sabi, I mean, I think I have heard something about it. It's all part of how data is expanding to the edge of things, and this relates also with IoT. We have a lot of telemetry data that these drones, for example, is they are doing video surveillance or measuring the temperature in an agricultural field or whatever. They have key or critical information for that business, and doesn't have to be a material thing like a package or something, but that data is very important and can be breached by an attacker. So this another example of how we need to think about the overall cybersecurity strategy outside of the castle, and where things are being sourced, or where things are being born as a data point, and how that data will go through the drone to a system or edge system, and from there to the cloud, and all these complex architectures. And I tie this to your point before about multi-clouds and hyperscalers. You can have, I mean, these companies, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, we all invest billions of dollars in security. So the platform has has a level of security that you can't achieve as an individual company, but that is not enough. And the most important part is how you design your architecture from a security standpoint to protect those kind of operations, like with drones in the field, in open air, how you will encrypt that, how you will monitor that, because we can know what we don't know, right? And attacks are sophisticated, attackers are more motivated, the entry barrier has lowered big time. So we didn't even touch on things like ransomware as a service, but you don't need to have billions or millions of dollars to do a coordinated attack to millions of points. You just need to rent a ransomware as a service, and you can start. A malicious actor can be involved in a cyber attack. So yeah, it's complex, and we need to think about it and on overall perspective.
Yeah, no, great points there. Thank you, Daniel. That's a good one. When do you involve your security folks in the project, right? Because I will share my story when I was managing the projects, and every time I had to deal with information security, I was like, oh my God, that's going to delay my project by another 3 months now, because now I have to talk to information security person, right? That used to be the mindset. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, not anymore, right? You have to engage with them. You have to have conversation with them, because it's an integral part of your project. So make sure you estimate that well, because these, as Daniel said, these hardening of systems and these things, it takes time. It needs to be tested. Want to make sure that the application you are building is tested properly and has all the bugs hopefully been resolved, so no hacker can have a 0-day hacks, right? Which is happening every day. You figure out, hey, there is this 0-day hack. It's like, okay, 0-day hack is, what's a 0-day hack? I had to understand that. What's a 0-day hack? And 0-day hack was like, hey, there is no solution for that. We just found about this hack today. So as an organization, how are you gonna support or prevent your organization from these 0-day hack trusts? So it's a challenging situation. I have another question. I think this is the last one probably which we can take. Priya, correct me if I'm wrong, and then we're going to start wrapping this up. Sapir is saying, hey, in my opinion, cybersecurity domain knowledge is expanding with more advanced technologies. Can PMP certified project managers without sufficient knowledge of cybersecurity can manage the project effectively? So if I'm a PMP certified and I don't have any knowledge about cybersecurity and I'm asked to jump into a project, can I manage that project effectively? Any?
Take that one?
Yeah, please, Barbara.
Yeah, I honestly believe that with good project management skills, you should be able to run any project. However, when you are running a project which does not maybe speak to your strength, like maybe cybersecurity, for example, you would need to identify subject matter experts, business owners that have got that strength so that they're in a position to cover in the gap where you are not understanding issues to do with cybersecurity. So as a project manager, you can manage any project within any industry, but your project team is the one that should then help you to ensure that where you have gaps as a project manager, there's also somebody within the team that can lift the weight and ensure that we still attain our objectives as an organization and our security posture is also protected even as we are implementing that particular project that we are working with. Thank you.
Yeah, great thoughts in there. I also saw, in the chat saying, hey, we have all these, communication plan, we have procurement plan, we have risk management plan. We need to have an information security management plan in our project. So great thought in there. We definitely need to, working on there. And Sabir, I will tell you my story. I had no clue about, PCI when I jumped into that project. And one of the things which all of us have to do is just learn when you jump from that plane, right? Learning on the go. You need to start learning, saying, oh, I don't need to be an expert on those. What are the terms which I need to understand? And then have that, as Barbara said, you need to have your team in there, those subject matter experts come in and help you out with those detailed things. So, but definitely, if you're a really good project manager, whether you're a PMP or not, I'm not going to debate that there. But if you're a really good project manager, you can definitely lead cybersecurity, manage project effectively if you're ready to learn on the go and have that skill set.
Yeah, and it's a team sport.
Yes, with the support, absolutely. It's a teamwork.
Maybe you don't know much about cybersecurity or you know the basics, but you need your subject matter experts there. As Barbara said, that's yeah, I 100% agree. You can lead any project of any topic, but you need to have your experts there, and you need to educate yourself on the basics, right? But yeah, it's a team sport.
Okay, team sport it is, Daniel says. Perfect. Hey, we're going to wrap it up. So this is how we're going to wrap up, is asking our panelists what's one thing they want to leave with this audience. One last wisdom nugget. You say, PMs, you need to do this. This will make you successful as a PM. So I'm going to start with, who wants to go first? I'm going to open it up for everyone. So who wants to go first?
I want to add something.
Okay, Soner.
And many people come to the cybersecurity with non-technical background, and they develop them their own time. And online course, many free course, GitHub, there are many resources. And the critical thing is, I think they should think outside the box, because hackers every time think like a hacker. We said always think like a hacker. And if there is no technical background, project managers think like a hacker, I can say.
Yeah, that's a great insight, Soner. Don't sell yourself or put yourself in that pigeonhole that, oh, I don't come from a technical background, that I can't go into cybersecurity. You have to get out of that comfort zone, go into that fear zone, because that's what's happening, right? It's the unknowns. We don't know, but you can be successful in that, as Soner says. So you don't have to come from a technical background. So with that, I'm going to open it up. So who wants to go first, saying this is one? Soner, thank you for that wisdom. Who's next?
Yeah. I think, as just we have discussed, there should be some specialized in cybersecurity so that project manager can work with him. But also project manager can learn the basic cybersecurity concept, and he has to keep his eyes open. Now, actually, information is much available. For example, ISC Square, which is very famous, they provide CISSP. They have now recently opened up a program who they will give 1 million free, for example, certified in cybersecurity. They call it CC. You can study those materials. They have all the videos and all the basic concept, and go sit for the examination in 1 and 2 months. You will see yourself in a better position to manage the cybersecurity projects. So this is the number one thing you can do immediately and now, and it will help
Awesome.
you to manage the cybersecurity. Okay, thank you.
Great insight, Shok. So yeah, there is no dearth of resources out there. If you really want to learn, there are resources available. The governments have the funding available. They want those cybersecurity professionals. They want somebody to come and help their organization to be safe. They have funding available. So get that certification, get that knowledge, and don't give that excuse that I don't have any resources. Okay.
I'm writing just some details in the chat box so that anybody can need any PM, he can just Google and do it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sharkat. Really appreciate it. Who wants to go next with that one wisdom, one last thought? Barbara, Daniel, one of you.
Sure. Cybersecurity is a responsibility for everyone in the organization, and as project managers, we need to ensure that whatever project that we are working on, cybersecurity is embedded from start to end. Thank you.
Yeah, don't be scared. Bring those information security folks in your project planning, right? Don't let them come in when you are almost ready to go live. Don't be scared about that. It's everybody's responsibility. Thank you, Barbara, for that thought. Daniel, you're last, buddy.
Okay, so I will say 3 very small ones. First, if you want project managers, if you want to start somewhere, learn about zero trust. Learn about the zero trust concept. Assume compromise, and don't be scared. I mean, this is something that needs to be managed. You need knowledge. Start with zero trust. Second, and I saw some references in the chat. This is very important. Not every asset needs to be protected the same way. So know which are your crown jewels, because you have crown jewels, and it's not all your data. It's some parts of the system, some parts of the data. So, and talk to your cybersecurity SMEs about that. And last one, supply chain, and that's a big one, right? And in this diverse global world where we're living in, you can have the best controls and big investment, and then a vendor comes with an unpatched laptop and click on a bad link and you're screwed. So supply chain, that's something that can keep you up at night.
Oh yeah. Great thoughts, Daniel. 3 things, which I'm just gonna zero trust. Make sure you trust no one, right? Which goes so much against the humankind. Hey, I'm a trustworthy person. I want to trust other person. But in cybersecurity, it's different. It's you don't need to make sure there's zero trust in there. And then talking about the supply chain challenges in there, right? And the most important one, do you know what is the critical information in your organization? And don't focus, put 80% of your resources on those top priority crown jewels, and then 20% on the remaining ones. Don't do the reverse. If you don't know what those important information in your organization is, you're at a big risk right there and then. Great insight. I had a great time moderating this session. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Shaka. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Soner. Great insights. And thank you also. I also want to thank all the folks who joined from different parts of the world, shared their thoughts in the chat, and I had a great time. Back to you, Priya.
You were great.
Thank you for listening.
Sabi, you were great, and thank you for moderating this session so actively and so enthusiastically, and making this subject so much interesting. And with this, over to you, Greg, to wrap this entire session up.
Wow, what a fantastic session. I've got, I like to write notes. I've got about 6 pages in my notebook. Man, there's so much information. One thing I will say in the wrap up is review. Wow, I want to listen to this again. There was so much great information. But I'm going to go forward here. I had some things I kind of outlined Last time we had the 11 C's. I'm going to go in a alphabetical order, A through I, with different things that I caught from this great session. So number one, A, awareness. Wow, awareness, it flows through everything that we do now is cybersecurity. Backup, B for backup, not just files. It used to be, I thought, cybersecurity was having a backup of your files, but it's actually having a backup of your system, a backup plan, contingency. C, community. How do we go forward? Community was a big item that folks brought up as being so critical, and that this community and then other communities outside of your own organization, finding that mentorship outside, so the community. D, defend yourself. Just as what was brought up, zero trust. And it doesn't mean you don't like people. It just means you have to defend yourself. You have to protect yourself. E, I got in two different things. Education. So you've got to continue to learn, but also everyone. E for everyone is part of cybersecurity in every organization. F, financial risk. You have to include financial risk and contingency with every project and all of your tasks. G, guidelines. You have to have guidelines. You have to have protocols within your organizations. H, I went with hybrid. So hybrid is how we all are working now. Almost everyone works in a hybrid, whether it's actually at your workplace and at home or just on your phone, using it both personally and working with your phone remotely. So hybrid. And then the last one I'm going to end with was the innovation, I for innovation, that we have to, as others stated, think out of the box. You have to innovate constantly. And you also have to remember there's the 0-day hack. So we are always having to innovate and move forward. So that's my summary. I had so much more I could say, but I'm going to leave it there.
Oh, Greg, I thought you will go to Z. You stopped at I.
I could.
Savvy, you need to fill up the rest of the alphabets now.
I definitely need that Z in there for 0-day trust, man. Definitely do that. Let's finish it off with 0-day.
Let's do that. And that was excellent. You know what? This is ingrained in my mind forever now. A2I for cybersecurity. Oh, someone has already put those on the chat. Look at that. Yeah. So we need to finish that off till Z. So Greg, so you got to work for the rest of the day while I go to sleep now. Okay. Wow, that's very good. With that, I think we will wrap up our event. And I have put the PGO code on the chat window. Please do take the feedback. The link for the feedback is also there. And do connect with your local chapters for such awesome, exciting events. And if you want to connect with our Mumbai chapter, the email IDs are already there. Don't forget to take the feedback because that's very important for us. And with that, we will wrap up for this month. Next month, we will be back again with another very, very exciting topic. Project management for R&D and fuzzy projects. Isn't that exciting? There is always some amount of mystery in R&D and fuzzy projects. So don't forget to look out for the registration link on the social media channels. And please join us. With this, thank you very much. Goodbye. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye.
Take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good one. Weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.